While Europeans were still figuring out how to make bronze tools and living in small agricultural villages, Native Americans had already spent 15,000 years mastering an entire continent, creating sophisticated civilizations and developing technologies that wouldn't appear in Europe for millennia. The discovery of America by Columbus is one of history's most ridiculous lies. He didn't discover anything. He stumbled into a continent that had been thoroughly explored, mapped, and civilized by peoples who had turned wilderness into a managed landscape more advanced than anything Europe could imagine. Let's destroy the Columbus myth once and for all by examining what Native Americans actually accomplished during the 15,000 years before Europeans showed up uninvited. We're not talking about primitive hunters wandering aimlessly through empty forests. We're talking about sophisticated peoples who had explored every corner of 2 continents, established trade networks spanning thousands of miles, built cities larger than European capitals, and developed agricultural systems that fed millions of people. The timeline alone should embarrass anyone who still believes European discovery narratives. Archaeological evidence shows human presence in the Americas dating back at least 15,000 years, with some sites suggesting occupation as early as 20,000 years ago. This means Native Americans were building civilizations in the Americas when Europeans were still living in caves and hunting mammoths with crude stone spears. During those 15,000 years, Native Americans accomplished what Europeans took millennia to achieve, and did it better. They explored and settled 2 entire continents, from the Arctic tundra to the Amazon rainforest, adapting to every possible climate and environment on Earth. This wasn't random wandering. It was systematic exploration and colonization that required UI-read navigation skills, environmental knowledge, and technological adaptation that European explorers couldn't match even with superior tools and equipment. Geographic mastery by Native Americans included complete exploration of North and South America, long before Europeans knew these continents existed. Archaeological evidence shows human settlements in Alaska, Canada, the United States, Mexico, Central America, and South America, indicating systematic exploration and settlement that covered over 16 million square miles of territory. The speed of continental exploration by Native Americans demonstrates remarkable mobility and adaptation capabilities. Archaeological dating suggests the journey from Alaska to the southern tip of South America occurred within just a few thousand years, an exploration pace that covered thousands of miles per generation and required constantly adapting to new environments, climates, and resources. Environmental adaptation achieved by Native Americans included successful settlement in every major ecosystem in the Americas, from Arctic ice sheets to tropical rainforests, from high mountain plateaus to coastal wetlands. Native Americans developed technologies and lifestyles that allowed thriving populations in environments that challenge modern people with advanced equipment. Desert survival techniques developed by Native Americans included water location methods, heat management strategies, and resource utilization that enabled large populations to flourish in environments like the American Southwest. These weren't small bands barely surviving. They were sophisticated societies that built permanent settlements and maintained complex trade relationships across desert regions. Arctic adaptation by Native Americans produced technologies and survival methods that modern Arctic researchers study and attempt to replicate. Inuit peoples developed ice fishing techniques, cold weather clothing, and shelter construction methods that enabled comfortable living in conditions that would kill modern people in hours. Mountain settlement by Native Americans included high-altitude agriculture, specialized architecture, and resource management that supported large populations at elevations that challenge modern people with oxygen equipment. Andean civilizations built cities at altitudes over 12,000 feet and developed agricultural techniques that modern farmers can't replicate. Forest management by Native Americans transformed entire continental ecosystems through controlled burning, selective harvesting, and species management that created the pristine wilderness that Europeans encountered. This wasn't natural forest. It was carefully managed landscape that had been shaped by human activity for thousands of years. Agricultural mastery achieved by Native Americans included crop development that created the foundation of modern global food systems. Corn, potatoes, tomatoes, beans, squash, peppers, chocolate, tobacco, and dozens of other crops were developed by Native American agriculturalists through thousands of years of selective breeding and genetic modification. The diversity of crops developed by Native American farmers demonstrates sophisticated understanding of plant genetics and environmental adaptation. Potato cultivation in the Andes included hundreds of varieties adapted to different altitudes, soil conditions, and climate zones. Each variety was carefully selected for specific growing conditions and nutritional characteristics, creating agricultural diversity that modern farming has largely abandoned. Corn development represents one of the most remarkable achievements in plant breeding history. Native American farmers transformed teosinte, a wild grass with tiny seeds, into modern corn with massive ears containing hundreds of kernels. This genetic transformation required understanding of heredity, selective breeding, and plant biology that modern agricultural science is still studying and attempting to replicate. Integrated farming systems developed by Native Americans created agricultural methods that improved soil quality while maximizing crop yields. The Three Sisters technique combined corn, beans, and squash in ways that provided structural support, nitrogen fixation, ground cover, and pest protection. Agricultural principles that modern sustainable farming is trying to rediscover and implement. The genetic engineering accomplished by Native American farmers represents one of humanity's greatest technological achievements. They transformed wild grass into corn, created hundreds of potato varieties adapted to different climates, and developed beans that could fix nitrogen and improve soil quality. Agricultural innovations that modern science is still trying to understand and replicate. Agricultural productivity achieved by Native American farming systems often exceeded modern industrial agriculture while maintaining soil quality and environmental sustainability. The Three Sisters farming technique, corn, beans, and squash grown together, created higher yields per acre than many modern farming methods while actually improving soil fertility over time. Irrigation engineering by Native Americans included water management systems that supported large populations in arid regions throughout the Americas. The canal systems built by civilizations in Peru, the American Southwest, and Mexico moved water across hundreds of miles with precision that modern irrigation engineers admire and study. Urban development by Native Americans created cities that exceeded European urban centers in size, sophistication, and planning. Teotihuacan, Cahokia, and dozens of other Native American cities featured populations larger than London or Paris, with urban planning, infrastructure, and architecture that European cities wouldn't match for centuries. Population density in Native American urban centers approached levels that required sophisticated resource management, waste disposal, and social organization. Archaeological evidence suggests that major Native American cities supported populations of 20,000 to 200,000 people. Urban concentrations that required administrative capabilities and infrastructure systems that European cities were still developing. Architectural achievements by Native Americans included construction techniques, materials science, and engineering knowledge that produced buildings lasting thousands of years. Pueblo construction, Mayan architecture, and Incan stonework demonstrate building technologies that modern engineers study for techniques that are difficult to replicate even with advanced equipment. Engineering knowledge demonstrated by Native American construction includes understanding of seismic resistance, water management, thermal dynamics, and structural engineering that produced buildings more durable than many modern structures. Incan buildings survive earthquakes that destroy modern constructions, while Pueblo structures maintain comfortable interior climates without external energy sources. Transportation networks developed by Native Americans included road systems, waterway management, and trail networks that connected civilizations across thousands of miles. The Incan road system covered over 25,000 miles of challenging terrain, with engineering solutions that modern highway departments find impressive. Navigation techniques developed by Native Americans enabled continental exploration and trade relationships that spanned vast distances across varied terrain and dangerous waterways. These weren't primitive wayfinding methods. They were sophisticated navigation systems using astronomical knowledge, environmental observation, and geographic understanding that enabled precise long-distance travel. Maritime technology by Native Americans included boat construction, sailing techniques, and ocean navigation that enabled coastal exploration and island settlement throughout the Americas. Pacific Northwest peoples developed ocean-going vessels and navigation methods that enabled reliable travel across hundreds of miles of open ocean. Trade networks established by Native Americans connected civilizations from Alaska to Argentina through commercial relationships that moved goods thousands of miles across challenging terrain. Archaeological evidence shows trade items from the Arctic appearing in Mexican sites and South American goods found in North American settlements, indicating continental commerce systems. The sophistication of these trade networks becomes apparent when examining the logistics required to maintain reliable commerce across such vast distances. Traders had to coordinate seasonal travel schedules, navigate dangerous terrain, negotiate with multiple tribal groups, and maintain quality control over goods traveling thousands of miles. These weren't occasional trading expeditions. They were systematic commercial relationships that operated for centuries. Trade route management required detailed geographical knowledge, diplomatic relationships, and logistical coordination that modern international commerce still struggles to achieve. Native American traders maintained detailed knowledge of seasonal conditions, territorial boundaries, resource availability, and political relationships across continental distances without written communication systems. Currency and value systems used in Native American trade included standardized measures, recognized exchange rates, and credit arrangements that enabled complex commercial transactions. Shell currencies, copper objects, and other trade goods functioned as recognized monetary systems with established values that were accepted across vast geographical regions and diverse cultural groups. Commercial sophistication in Native American trade networks included standardized values, quality control, and credit systems that enabled complex economic relationships across vast distances. These weren't simple barter systems. They were sophisticated commercial networks with established trade routes, recognized currencies, and dispute resolution mechanisms. Manufacturing capabilities of Native American societies included specialized production, technological innovation, and quality control that created trade goods valued throughout the Americas. Specialized craftspeople produced pottery, textiles, tools, and ornamental objects that were traded across continental networks and established regional reputations for quality and innovation. Metallurgical knowledge among Native Americans included extraction, alloying, and manufacturing techniques that produced tools and ornamental objects superior to European metalwork. South American metallurgists worked with gold, silver, copper, and bronze using techniques that European smiths admired and attempted to learn. Textile production by Native Americans achieved levels of sophistication that European textile workers couldn't match. Peruvian textiles show thread counts and pattern complexity that weren't achieved in European production until the Industrial Revolution, while using natural materials and hand techniques that modern manufacturers struggle to replicate. Scientific knowledge accumulated by Native Americans included astronomy, mathematics, medicine, and natural science that exceeded European learning in many areas. Mayan astronomers could predict eclipses and track planetary movements with accuracy exceeding European astronomy, while medical practitioners performed successful surgeries that European doctors wouldn't attempt for centuries. Astronomical observations by Native Americans achieved precision that modern scientists respect and study. Maya astronomers tracked Venus cycles with accuracy that wasn't matched in European astronomy until the development of telescopes. Their calculations of lunar and solar cycles enabled calendar systems that remained accurate for thousands of years without mechanical correction. Mathematical innovations by Native Americans included positional notation, zero concepts, and calculation systems that were more advanced than European mathematics of the same period. The Maya developed mathematical concepts independently that European mathematicians wouldn't discover for centuries, while creating architectural and engineering projects that required complex geometric calculations. Medical achievements by Native Americans included surgical procedures that European doctors considered impossible without modern equipment. Successful trepanation surgeries with survival rates exceeding 80% cataract removal procedures, and complex pharmaceutical preparations demonstrate medical knowledge that European medicine was centuries away from achieving. Natural science knowledge among Native Americans included detailed understanding of plant and animal biology, geological processes, and ecological relationships that enabled successful resource management and environmental adaptation. This scientific knowledge was integrated into practical applications that sustained large populations while maintaining environmental balance. Mathematical systems developed by Native Americans included numerical concepts, geometric understanding, and calculation methods that enabled complex engineering and astronomical work. The Maya developed the concept of zero independently and created base 20 numerical systems that were more efficient than European mathematical methods for many applications. Medical expertise among Native Americans included surgical procedures, pharmaceutical development, and diagnostic techniques that achieved better outcomes than European medicine. Successful brain surgery, cataract removal, and complex pharmaceutical preparations demonstrate medical knowledge that European practitioners were centuries away from developing. Botanical knowledge of Native Americans included understanding of thousands of plant species, their medicinal properties, growth requirements, and processing techniques. This encyclopedic knowledge of plant science enabled development of effective medicines, sustainable agriculture, and resource management that European colonists depended on for survival. Environmental management by Native Americans included ecosystem modification, species management, and landscape engineering that created productive and sustainable environments throughout the Americas. The controlled burning, selective harvesting, and habitat management practiced by Native Americans maintained biodiversity while supporting large human populations. Landscape modification by Native Americans transformed entire continental ecosystems through systematic environmental management that created park-like conditions Europeans mistook for natural wilderness. Controlled burning eliminated underbrush, encouraged desired plant species, and maintained open forests that supported both human activities and wildlife populations. Species management techniques used by Native Americans included selective harvesting, habitat enhancement, and population control methods that maintained sustainable relationships with wild animal and plant populations. These management practices prevented overexploitation while ensuring reliable resource availability for human communities. Forest engineering by Native Americans created managed ecosystems that maximized productivity while maintaining ecological balance. Tree species composition, understory management, and fire regimes were carefully controlled to produce desired outcomes for human use while supporting diverse wildlife populations and maintaining soil health. Watershed management by Native Americans included stream modification, wetland enhancement, and water quality protection that created productive aquatic ecosystems while preventing erosion and flooding. These water management techniques supported fish populations, provided clean water supplies, and maintained landscape stability across vast regions. Climate adaptation strategies developed by Native Americans enabled successful settlement in climatic conditions ranging from Arctic tundra to tropical deserts. These adaptation techniques included specialized housing, clothing, food preservation, and resource management that enabled comfortable living in environments that challenge modern people with advanced technology. Resource utilization by Native Americans maximized the potential of available materials through sophisticated processing techniques and innovative applications. Every part of hunted animals was used for food, tools, clothing, and shelter, while plant resources were processed and preserved using methods that maximize nutritional value and storage life. Social organization among Native American societies included governance systems, legal frameworks, and diplomatic relationships that managed complex civilizations and intergroup relations. The Iroquois Confederacy developed democratic institutions and constitutional principles that influenced the development of modern democratic theory. Cultural development by Native Americans produced art, literature, music, and philosophical systems that demonstrated intellectual sophistication and creative achievement. Oral traditions preserved complex knowledge systems, historical records, and cultural values through sophisticated memory techniques and storytelling methods. Technological innovation by Native Americans included development of tools, techniques, and systems that solved practical problems using available materials and environmental knowledge. From specialized hunting equipment to complex agricultural tools, Native American technology demonstrated creative problem-solving and engineering expertise. Military organization among Native American societies included strategic thinking, tactical innovation, and defensive systems that protected territories and resources from external threats. Fortification design, weapon development, and military logistics demonstrate strategic capabilities that European military leaders respected and studied. Diplomatic systems developed by Native Americans included treaty-making, alliance formation, and conflict resolution that managed relationships between different societies across vast territories. These diplomatic frameworks enabled trade relationships, territorial agreements, and military alliances that maintained stability across continental regions. Educational systems among Native Americans included knowledge transmission, skill development, and cultural preservation that maintained sophisticated technologies and social systems across generations. Apprenticeship programs, ceremonial instruction, and practical education ensured that complex knowledge was preserved and improved over time. Religious and philosophical systems developed by Native Americans demonstrated intellectual depth, spiritual sophistication, and ethical frameworks that guided individual behavior in its social organization. These belief systems integrated scientific knowledge, practical wisdom, and spiritual understanding in ways that provided comprehensive worldviews. Artistic achievement by Native Americans included visual arts, music, dance, and literature that demonstrated aesthetic sophistication and cultural expression. Mayan sculpture, Pacific Northwest wood carving, and Southwestern pottery represent artistic traditions that achieved technical mastery and creative excellence. By now, you should understand that Columbus didn't discover America. He encountered civilizations that had already mastered the continents more thoroughly than Europeans had mastered their own territories. The 15,000 years before European contact represent one of the greatest periods of human exploration, innovation, and civilization building in world history. The systematic exploration and settlement of two entire continents by Native Americans represents an achievement in human migration and adaptation that exceeds any other continental colonization in human history. The technological innovations, social systems, and environmental management developed during this period laid the foundation for sustainable civilizations that supported millions of people. The next time someone mentions Columbus discovering America, remind them that he arrived at continents that had been thoroughly explored, extensively settled, and masterfully managed by peoples whose achievements in exploration, technology, and civilization exceeded anything Europe had accomplished. Native Americans didn't need to be discovered. They had already discovered, explored, and mastered America thousands of years before Europeans knew it existed.